Richard from Lagos, you are welcome. Guess I'm still waiting for others. I'm excited to have you all on the call. So please, let's meet you. All right, Vivian from Abia State, Rashid from Lagos, Casey from Uyo. Wow, you are welcome to the class. All right. Okay, so I'm still waiting for others. Still waiting for you. Please, as you are joining us, tell us where you are joining us from. Fumi from Lagos. You're welcome to our class today. I believe we still have others who are yet to introduce themselves, so please go ahead and do that. Okay, so we are still on the introduction. So if you are just joining us, please introduce yourself and tell us where you are joining us from. Regina from South Africa. You are welcome to the class. It's good to have you, Regina. All right, I'm still waiting for others. We are going to take a little time to do that, just a few minutes to do that. Okay? Please, as you're joining us, introduce yourself and tell us where you are joining us from. It's good to have everyone on the call. All right, everyone. So I'm delighted to welcome you all to the official launch of this class. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding. After the network disruption in our previous class, which was rescheduled for today. To some of you who were on the call last time, you know we had a little of network fluctuation. And so we had to reschedule the class for today. So thank you so much for your patience. And if you are joining us for the very first time, this is the official launch of our English language and communication class. We are excited to finally begin, and I hope today's class will run smoothly. All right, so before we get started, please confirm in the chat room if you can hear me clearly. Oh, Soye Nicholas, joining us from Ghana, you are welcome. Oluchi from Lagos, thank you for joining us today. Please confirm in the chat room that you can hear me. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so, okay, thank you for that. Also take a moment to fill out the attendance form. The link is in the chat room. Emmanuel, please help us share the link on the chat room. Please make sure your name is correctly filled. Okay. Mano, please, can we have the attendance form link on the chat room? All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Okay, so before we proceed, here are a few important guidelines to ensure a smooth running of today's session, all right? Keep your microphones muted unless you are called upon to speak. If you have a question, please use the chat room or you use the raise hand feature. Please feel free to participate when prompted. If the lecturer or the trainer is asking for something, please feel free to participate. If at any point you have technical issues, drop a message in the chat room and we will assist you where possible. And if you get disconnected due to network issues, do not worry. Just rejoin using the same link, okay? All right, so with that being said, we are pleased to officially launch this class with the topic, Develop Appropriate Study Skills Using English Language. So we are looking forward to an engaging and insightful learning. And I believe that at the end of this class, you'll be able to get the appropriate use of English in your daily activities and your work, okay? So without further ado, I will be welcoming our trainer for today. I'm excited to have her on the call in the person of Feyisayo Odejide. She will be taking us through today's session. She is an English language and communication coach, and I believe that by the end of this class, you will develop appropriate skills in English language usage. All right, welcome, ma'am. You can take it over from here.
Okay, thank you very much, Mercy. Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Am I clear?
Good
Can you all hear
morning.
me? Good
Loud and
morning,
clear.
lovely.
Loud and
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm happy to be here today. Thank you very much for joining me in today's session. Like Mercy said before, I'm an English language elocution, pronunciation, and effective communication coach. So today we'll be learning, how to refine the way we speak, the way we are heard, the way we are understood. Okay, so now let me take a moment. Think about the last time you spoke in English at length. Did you feel confident? Did you feel understood? Were there moments where you hesitated? Maybe you were not particularly sure how to pronounce a word or things like that. Does that sound familiar to you? Does that sound familiar to you? Well, if it is, then yes, thank you, Richard. You're in the right place because today we're going to learn, how to effectively communicate in English, in the English language. Okay, so and in the course of the semester, we will learn how to refine our English language, and we will also learn how to pronounce words, adequately, how to present yourself when you're speaking. And so I really expect and hope that you will enjoy the process. Okay. Now, why do we focus so much on elocution, on pronunciation? It's simple, you know, clear pronunciation equals clear communication. Okay. And it's the difference between being heard and being understood. So imagine saying, can I have a sheet of paper? And someone is thinking you said something else, and I don't want to say the other word. So I mean, you have to properly enunciate. You have to properly pronounce your words. Okay. So, and another thing is that you have to understand that your pronunciation shapes your or people's perception, as it were. So it affects how people respond to you in conversations, in interviews, in presentations. So we have to make every word count. Okay. So it's important to get comfortable with sounds. Before an athlete runs a race, they stretch. Before a singer performs, they warm up. And so before we speak clearly, we need to wake up our speech muscles. So, you have to do things like your jaw loosening, especially if you have an event where you have to go out and speak in public. So you have to open your mouth wide, you have to relax it, you have to open it again, you have to relax it, you have to do lip trills where you purse your lips together, blow air through them, things like that. To do tongue twisters, like say things like, oh, she sells seashells by the seashore. And say it, you take it slowly at first, and then you increase the tempo. She sells seashells by the seashore. By the time you're able to say things like that, it means that you're able to better, pronounce your words and things like that. You have to make your words work for you. Okay? So, there's something called word stress. And every word in English language has a natural rhythm. So, you say the word photography, then you say the word photograph. Can you hear the difference? There's word stress. There's photography and then there's photograph. It's it's not the same exact word, but you can see how one word metamorphosizes into another. So this is what things like word stress will tell you about. And then there's something also called connected speech. In natural conversations, words blend. So instead of saying, what do you want? What do you want? You find yourself saying, what you want? What do you want? Things like that. So it's important to keep these things at the back of your mind. Then there's also something called vowel clarity. Some vowels need more energy. So say B-I-T, it's bit, and say B-E-A-T, it's beat. Two different pronunciations, but also similar. So you have to be careful not to say bit when you mean to say beat, or beat when you mean to say bit. That tiny vowel change, it makes a huge difference. Or when you want to say ship or sheep, S-H-I-P versus S-H-E-E-P, ship or sheep, okay? So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about in the course of the semester, okay? You need to focus a lot on your pronunciation and your reading and your confidence. English pronunciation is fun, it's rewarding, if you speak with clarity, confidence and ease, it will help you, over time to be an effective communicator, okay? And then you make sure that you practice all the time. Practice does not necessarily make perfect, but it makes progress, okay? So it's important to remember that the goal is not to sound perfect. It's to be clear, confident, and natural, okay? Clear, confident, and natural. So every time you speak, you're presenting yourself to the world. You need to own your voice. You need to work on it. You need to celebrate your progress. So anytime that you find that you've done a nice session of communicating and you've done it well, then you need to celebrate your progress, okay? So today, however, we will be talking about things like effective note-taking and listening skills and things like that. So I'm just going to share my screen shortly. Yeah, share my screen shortly, and we will resume this class today. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, we can see.
Lovely, lovely. All right.
See your screen.
Let me put it on presentation mode. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so what are the objectives for today's class? We need to learn, we're going to be able to learn how to take and organize our notes effectively for better comprehension and retention. We're going to discover reliable information sources in libraries and online for the academic and professional research. We need to understand techniques to enhance reading speed and comprehension, develop strategies for tackling IELTS, listening tasks, including recognizing paraphrased information, and of course, enhance active listening skills to follow and engage in conversations effectively, okay? Now, can you take a moment to think about the last time you attended a lecture a meeting, or even a casual conversation, did you remember the key points? Did you jot down, notes that made sense later, or did you struggle to recall important details? Does that sound like something that has happened to anybody here? Okay. So, I mean, that's why we're here. Why should we focus on notes taking? Why? Why is note taking important? It's simple. Good notes equal better understanding. They help us stay engaged. They help us process information, and they also help us recall the key points when we need them. So think of note-taking as creating a personal roadmap to knowledge. It leads you back to important ideas long after the conversation or lecture has ended. Okay? So let's say you're listening to a speaker, right? Speaker is discussing time management techniques. So if you write something like manage time well, that's vague. But if you write something like prioritize tasks using Eisenhower matrix, for instance, or that's a clear and structured and easy to remember way of taking down notes on that particular topic. So you see the difference, right? Effective note taking is not just about writing, but it's about writing smart. Okay, it's about writing smart. So it's extremely important to do the right thing at the right time when you're taking down your notes. Then I would also like to touch on active listening, even though we're going to talk about it much later. Okay, so listening, the types of listening that exist. We have passive listening, we have selective listening, we have active listening. And listening is not just hearing, right? It's processing, it's understanding, it's responding. And there are different types of listening, like I said before. So you need to know which one to use in whatever situation that will help you make a difference. Okay. So with passive listening, for instance, you hear words, but you don't engage, that kind of thing. Imagine you're like in a cafe, for instance, and there's a lot of background noise there. Information at that point will go in, through one ear and come out the other. Okay. So, that's you basically not engaging, as it were, but basically just, there, and the words are just coming in and going out of your ears. And then we have the selective listening. At that point, you focus only on what interests you. So you can imagine tuning into only the fun parts of a speech, but you're missing key details, okay? And then, of course, we have active listening. This is where the magic happens. You're at this point, you're fully engaged. You're analyzing the information, and you're taking structured notes. So what's the goal? Is to basically move from passive listening to active listening so that you can absorb and retain information more effectively. Okay? So let's go back to the note-taking methods. All right? It's something that note-taking is something that is simple but incredibly powerful. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, do I really need to take notes? Can't I just listen And remember, well, let's be honest, we hear so much information every day. Lectures, conversations, podcasts, social media. And if we don't have a way to organize and store that information, most of it just disappears. Okay? So it's important to take notes. Now, why is it that important? Number one, it helps you remember things. It helps you remember things. Okay? So when you write things down, your brain pays more attention to the things that you're listening to. Okay, it's like leaving a little memory footprint. Okay, studies even show that handwriting your notes boosts memory more than typing them. So because your brain has to work a little bit harder to process that information when you're writing, that's why that happens. Okay. Now, number two is that it helps you to organize your thoughts. Okay, it helps you to organize your thoughts. Have you ever read a book or listened to a lecture that felt like a flood of information, right? Now, notes will help you break down that information, as it were. So it will help you sort it out and it will help you see the big picture. So that's another reason why note taking is important. And then number three is that it makes studying easier. Makes studying easier. Imagine this, you have a big examination coming, right? Now, would you rather go through an entire textbook again, or you just want to view your neatly, summarized notes? These notes will help you save time and save you from stress, okay? Number four is that it keeps you focused. Taking notes is not just about writing down or anything. It's also about actively listening, actively listening. So instead of zoning out during a lecture, note taking will keep your brain engaged with whatever the lecturer is saying. So I'm hoping that people are taking notes right now. It's like having a conversation with what you're learning. That's exactly what note taking, is like. Note taking will also help you think critically. That's the fifth reason why note taking is important. So great note taking isn't just about copying, it's also about understanding. Okay. So you're summarizing, you're asking questions, you're making, key connections, which is where the real learning, happens. Because if you're not making connections with what is being said, and all of that, then you're not really learning. So the next time, like today, that you're in a class and subsequently into the future, don't just sit down there passively. You pick up a pen, you open your laptop, whatever works for you, and you start to take notes that actually help you learn. Okay. So there are different types of note-taking methods that can transform the way you learn. Okay. So one of the methods is what's already on the screen right now, that is called the Cornell method. Okay, the Cornell method. Because we all take notes in different ways. Some of us write everything down, some of us scribble random words, and some, well, just sit there thinking, I'll remember this later. Well, spoiler alert, we actually don't. So let's explore, the structured approaches to note taking. And like I said, Cornell method is the first one that we're going to be talking about. Now, this method is like the VIP treatment for your notes. It organizes everything neatly and makes revision a breeze for you. Okay, so here's how it works, right? On the right-hand side, you jot down the main points from your lecture or from your reading, okay? And then on the left-hand side, you write keywords, okay? Questions or prompts that will help trigger your memory. And then at the bottom, you summarize everything in a few sentences, okay? Now, this method is fantastic for structuring lecture notes and even creating self-tests, as it were. And then next we have mind mapping. Now, if you're a visual learner, then you'll love this one. So imagine your main idea sitting in the middle of the page, like the sun. And then from it, smaller ideas branch out like rays. So you can use colors, symbols, or even doodles to show how different concepts connect. Okay, so this method is it's perfect for brainstorming, for breaking down complex topics, and basically for seeing the bigger picture. Okay, and then we have the outlining method. Now, if you like structure and logic, this one it will work for you. Okay, it's like creating a roadmap for your notes. So at this point, you have the main topic, you have the subtopic, then you have, the key details, and then you have examples. And it's amazing for organizing textbook information and keeping things clear and logical. Okay. And then next, we want to talk about active versus passive note taking. Now, this is a game changer. Okay. This is a game changer. Passive note taking is just copying, everything down and all whatnot, while active, on the other hand, will make you engage with material, things like that. You find yourself summarizing, you highlight, you ask questions, you make, the right connections, and you find that you already know some things and it just makes sense and it clicks when you're taking those notes. So things like that will help make your information stick, as opposed to passive note taking when you're really just writing things down, copying things down like a human recorder and all of that. It seems like you're doing something, but later when you read it, you might find that, oh, you really haven't done much, or you start to wonder that, what does this even mean? So which do you think will help better? Obviously, it's not the passive one. Okay, so I would like you to go back after this session, as it were, and find a short lecture, a podcast, or even a recorded version of this class, or even a TED Talk, and you choose, one of the note-taking methods, whether the Cornell, whether the mind mapping, or even just outlining, and take notes as you listen. And then afterwards, summarize the keynote in about 3 to 5 sentences. And I'd like to see that in our next class, okay? So that we can all compare our notes, as it were. So note taking isn't just about writing, it's about learning smarter. When it's done right, it helps you to understand, remember, and apply the information that you have garnered much better. Okay, so the next time you sit down for a lecture, Try a new method. Your future self will thank you. Okay. Let's talk about types of information sources. Okay. Now, it, sorry. With with so much information out there, how do you find, or how do you separate the good from the useless? Okay. How do you separate the good from the useless? Now, one way is by mastering something called the Boolean search technique. Okay, the Boolean search technique. Now, the Boolean search technique will help you refine your searches, okay, and it will help you get exactly what you need. There's something called Boolean operators. Now, these operators will help you control what results you see. So, it will help you either narrow your search by including results that contain specific items, and so when you use and, this is what happens. So, for example, let's say climate change and renewable energy, when you put that together, you can use it to find sources containing both terms. Okay. Now, you can also then use or, right? or, and this helps to broaden your search by including any of the specified terms, right? And then, okay, so an example of that would be education or training or learning. It will help you find results with any of these three terms, right? And then we have the not, which helps you to exclude specific words from the search results. So example of that, this is like using keywords. Okay, so example of that will be genetics, not evolution. Okay, and so this will help exclude sources that mention things like evolution, as it were. Another thing you want to do is that you want to use search filters. Okay, so when you want to get the most relevant results, we try filters like date filters, which will help you limit, search to recent events or later events, as it were. Then you want to use things like source filters, which will help you choose between whether it's scholarly articles, books, or government reports. Basically, you want to be using keywords effectively. Okay, you want to use the right keywords, and you want to use them effectively. So you want to learn how to basically optimize your searches by identifying the primary keywords related to your topic, and you want to use synonyms and variations to expand your results. Okay, so yeah, then also it's important that you're able to so even with online resources like library search or anything, which is essential, there are steps and there are guides to making the most of it. So you want to define your research, your research topic. You want to be clear on what you want to learn. You want to break broad topics into specific research questions. Okay, so you want to identify relevant keywords, and you want to also brainstorm synonyms related terms to expand your search. Okay, so you want to use digital you want to use library or catalogs and databases. Okay, so the search, when you search the library's catalog for books, for journals, and digital materials, you also want to go ahead and use academic databases like JSTOR or Google Scholar to find research papers. Okay, so you need to make sure that you take the effective notes, as it were, like I talked about before. You want to also make sure that you evaluate the site sources properly and all of that. And doing great research isn't just about finding information. It's about finding credible sources and using them effectively by refining your search strategies and learning to evaluate the sources. So you dramatically improve the quality of your academic work and professional projects, basically by doing these kinds of things. Okay. Yeah, what else do I want to talk to you about? Okay, so then I'd like to mention that it's important to improve your concentration and retention. Okay, it's important to improve your concentration and your retention. And these two skills are very crucial when it comes to studying and absorbing information effectively. Now, let's face it, in the world today, with all the distractions that are around us, staying focused can be extremely tough. Okay, but don't worry. Don't worry so much, because with the right habits, you can develop your concentration skills and you can remember what you learn more easily. Okay, so the first things first, we need to create the right environment. Okay, you need to create the right environment. It's all about finding a place where you can choose where you can concentrate better, and you need to make sure that you find a place that's quiet, that has minimal distraction. And yes, this means either putting your phone on silent or even on airplane mode, or basically just switching it off altogether. Okay, I know it feels like a tough choice, but trust me, it will be worth it. Also, you need to keep all the material that you need, like your notebooks, your textbooks. They have to be within arm's reach, because that way you don't waste time looking for things when you should be focused. Okay, now let's talk about a few methods that will help you stay focused. One of the most popular ones is the Pomodoro technique. Okay, Pomodoro, Pomodoro. And so the Pomodoro technique, here's what happens. You study for 25 minutes, then you take 5 minutes break, and then you repeat the cycle. And you'll find that your mind stays fresh and you actually get more done. Okay? The mind stays fresh, get more done. Another thing you can do is practice deep breathing before you start studying. Just take a few slow deep breaths to relax your mind and your body. And remember, avoid multitasking, because what you're trying to do is to focus. Okay? Focus. You're practicing focus. So avoid multitasking. Even though multitasking might be like a time saver, but it actually makes it harder for you to retain information. So focus on one thing at a time. Okay, now let's talk about retention. How do we actually remember what we study? One of the most effective methods is visualization. Visualization. So what you want to do is you want to create diagrams or charts, or even use color coding to make things stand out. Okay. It will help the information stick in your mind. It will help the information stick in your mind, and it's also important to try associating new concepts with something that you already know. Okay? New concept with something that you already know. For example, if you're learning about chemical reactions, for instance, you're learning about chemical reactions, think about cooking, mixing ingredients, things like that. It's kind of it's kind of like a chemical reaction. So when you're visualizing things like that, it helps you understand better. Okay. And one of the best ways to retain information is to also teach it. Okay. So yes, teach it.
Excuse
When
me,
you learn
madam.
something. Yes.
Okay, so from your slides, what I'm seeing is take effective notes, and
All
it's
right.
I don't know if you're in the right slide.
Don't worry about it. I'm still just explaining things. I already spoke about taking effective notes. I already spoke
Okay,
about that, and I've gone past that, but I'm doing some explanations
all
before we
right,
go on to the next thing. Okay?
thank you. All right.
Yeah, yes. So where was I? So I was talking about visualizing. So I mean, okay, no, I was talking about the best way to retain something is to teach it. Okay? So um um sorry about that. I think I just lost my train of thought for a minute. Yes, okay. So I was saying that explaining things out loud helps you to reinforce your memory. Okay? Explaining things out loud helps you to reinforce your memory. Um, there's something called the SQ3R method. SQ3R method. And basically, what it does is that it helps you process and understand things that you've taken in your mind. So SQ3R basically refers to survey, question, read, recite, review. Okay? Survey, question, read, recite, review. All right? And survey basically refers to you basically surveying the passage first, identifying the key terms like okay, let me read something out loud to you, for instance. Let me read this passage. Renewable energy resources such as solar and wind power are becoming increasingly important as the world seeks to reduce carbon emissions. Okay. Now, unlike fossil fuels, renewable energy does not produce greenhouse gases, making it an environmentally friendly option. Governments worldwide are investing in sustainable energy solutions to combat climate change. Now, here's how we apply SQ3R to that, okay? When you survey the passage, you identify key terms like renewable energy, solar power, carbon emissions, okay? Then the next thing, the next thing you want to do is you want to then question why renewable energy is important, okay? How does it help the environment? Now you read the passage carefully, paying attention to those details. That's the first R. Then the next thing you do is you recite, you summarize the main idea out loud, like renewable energy reduces pollution and helps fight climate change. That's reciting. And then finally, you go back and then you review, like maybe 10 minutes after, you go and you review and try to recall the main, the main points. Now, why did I come up with this, or why did I talk about this? It's because I wanted to talk about good reading habits, okay? And we have two types. We have skimming and we have scanning. We have skimming and we have scanning. Now, both skimming and scanning are the types of speed reading. They're speed reading techniques that serve different purposes, okay? So skimming is what? Is kind of like a quick way of basically just getting the general idea. So it's quick reading to get the main idea of a text, okay? And then it also helps you to identify the key things, the main arguments and the overall structure without reading every word, all right? And then at that point, what the readers want to do is they want to focus on the headings, the subheadings, the topic sentences, the bold and the italicized words, the bullet points, and the summaries. And it's basically ideal for previewing materials before deep reading or when looking for general understanding of a document. For example, if you're skimming a news article, you might read only the headlines, the introductions, the conclusions, just to be able to grasp the general idea, right? And so it's important to know when to use the different techniques. So for instance, when you use when you want to use skimming, it's usually very useful for reviewing study materials before an exam, or reading a book introduction, or even executive summary, and also to help understand when you're trying to understand the main idea of a research paper without going into too much detail. And then we have the scanning method, right? The scanning method is you searching for specific details, numbers, keywords, or names without reading everything. So instead of reading all the sentences, your eyes basically will move quickly to find, specific information, that you're looking, or something that you're looking for in the document or in the book, as it were. And then it's useful for finding dates or finding statistics, for finding definitions or even answers to specific questions. I bet that majority of us do a lot of scanning when we read. So if you're looking for a word, for example, a word definition in the dictionary, definitely you can't go through the entire dictionary. You go to the specific page, starting with, you know, the letter of where that page starts from, and then you look for the next best word that's, you know, in an alphabetical order that will help you find that specific entry, as it were. And so when do you want to be using scanning? You want to use it when searching for a specific name, a figure, or, you know, face, or even article, as it were. And then sorry, fact. And then we also want to use scanning when you're trying to locate a particular topic in an index or a table of contents. And then we want to find we want to do when you're finding answers in a multiple choice reading or comprehension exam. The key differences between skimming and scanning. So skimming is about getting the gist of the text. Scanning is about finding a particular piece of information quickly. Okay, I hope we're getting it. Are there any questions so far? Are there any questions so far? Are there any questions so far? Let me see. Let me look in the chat room. Okay, I do not seem to think that there are any questions. Please ask any questions if you're not clear. If not, I will continue. I will continue.
Hello.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, can you explain more about the skinning method?
Okay. So basically what I said about skimming is that when you, please can you mute yourself so that you can, I can hear myself speak. Thank you. So the skimming method is when you just basically want to get the general idea of what a particular topic or book or whatever it is saying, is talking about. Basically, like I put in the bullet points here, it's quick reading to get the main idea of the text of the book, of whatever reading material that you have. It will help you in identifying, you know, the main arguments, the key things, what the text is talking about generally, okay? And then the highlights of that particular text, okay? So at that point, what you want to do is that you want to focus on the headings, right? On the headings, on the subheadings, on the topic text. Even, okay, so for instance, imagine reading a newspaper, right? And you want to get the general idea of what is being said. At that point, you want to look at the headlines. Then you want to look at maybe subtopics. You want to look at the names of the people that are involved in that thing. That is skimming, okay? So you're looking for things that stand out, okay? In the general, in the grand scheme of things, as it were, you're looking for things that stand out. And so the skimming method is ideal for previewing materials before going deep inside. So you might decide that, okay, after skimming through, you're really interested in what that topic or whatever that text is saying. So then you can now decide to read the entire thing step by step. So you're basically using skimming to determine whether it's going to be worth you taking the time out to read that material, as it were. Honestly, I hope I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay, it's Honesty that wants to.
Oh, okay, sorry, it's Honesty that wants to talk now. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. All right, please, Honesty, I'm listening. I'm listening. Do you have a question for me?
Please, I have a question.
Okay, please carry on.
Okay. This skinning method, and because from what you explained so far, I got to
Yes.
see that it have a similarity with this scanning because it's still like
With what?
finding important information. Like it have a similarity with this scanning method. Like they
So,
both
so the only similarity is that they're both quick reading methods, right? Now, with
mm,
skimming, what you're doing is that you want to get the gist of the subject matter, basically. You want to find out, okay, what is it talking about? What, the general idea. Who is it talking about? What is it talking about? What is the total package? What is it? But with scanning, you're looking for one thing in particular. Do you understand? So you're scanning that document or that reading material to find a particular thing, which is why I used the example of the dictionary. You're looking for a
yeah.
word in the dictionary. You're going to go straight to where you will find that word in the dictionary.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
you
Thank
understand?
you.
Does that make sense? Okay, beautiful. All right, so can we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So let's move to the IELTS listening strategies. And I decided that we will include IELTS in this training because I know that a lot of people are looking to take IELTS. Okay, so SQ3R, the full meaning is survey, question, then the 3R means read, recite, review. Okay? Survey, question, read, recite, review. Okay, I hope I answered that for you, Rashid. So, like I said, we're going to IELTS listening strategies. Now, sorry. Okay, beautiful. I hope we all know what IELTS is. It's the English language test that basically everybody who wants to leave the country, who wants to emigrate, um, they have to take that test to be able to ascertain whether or what level their English speaking, comprehension, as it were, listening, writing is at. Okay. Now, this is something that a lot of people I know may be preparing for. So let's break down some strategies that will help you in your IELTS journey, perhaps maybe help you with your score, because many people I know are gunning to travel out of the country and to live there. So first you need to understand that IELTS listening test has 4 sections. Okay, 4 sections. Now each test with those 4 sections, they get more difficult as you progress. So you will encounter different types of questions, and each one requires a slightly different approach. So there's something called multiple choice questions. Now you'll be given a question with several possible answers, and the key is to make sure that you read the question before you listen and then underline keywords. Now, this will help you predict what the speaker might talk about. Be careful of distractors. These distractors are answers that may seem right, but they are not. Okay? So you need to be careful when you're looking at questions like that. So an example of such a question would be, what is the main reason James prefers online learning? Option A, it is cheaper. Option B, it is more flexible. And option C, he dislikes traditional classes. Now you might hear something like, James first thought online learning would save him money, but in the end, it was the flexibility that made the biggest difference. So of course, the answer to that question would be B, flexibility. Now see how understanding the full context of whatever it is you're reading is key. So it's important to always, put that in your subconscious, knowing that there will be, some answers that may seem right, but they aren't right. Okay. Then we have something called sentence completion. Now, here in sentence completion, you'll need to fill a missing word. But here's the catch. The word has to grammatically fit, and the spelling has to be correct. So before you listen, read the sentence carefully and focus on keywords that might give you clues. For example, the new shopping mall will open dash, and it has to be no more than one word. So you hear the construction will finish by December, and the mall is scheduled to open in January. Okay, so what answer do you think it will be? Let's go back to the question. The new shopping mall will open in, and then the recording says that the construction will finish by December and the mall is scheduled to open in January. So obviously the answer would be January, okay? And then we have something called matching information. And in this type of question, you match a list of items to the correct category, okay? So here's the tip. Anytime you encounter this kind of question, you have to make sure that you read through the options before you listen. This will help you recognize the keywords and will help you stay on track. For example, you might hear match the speakers to their favorite holiday destination. Speaker 1 would say what? Italy. Speaker 2 may say Japan, and speaker 3 would say France. Okay? So obviously, speaker 3, I'm sorry, you then hear things like, oh, Anna loves traveling and has been to Japan and Italy, but she always dreams of returning to France. So speaker 3 obviously is linked to France because there's a precedent that says that she has been to France before. And then we have labeling diagrams. Now this is where you listen to a description and label parts of the diagram or map. So you approach it by, by studying the diagram or the map beforehand, and then you listen carefully for landmarks or prepositions like next to or on the left. For example, the recording might might say you'll find the bus stop directly between the bank and the supermarket, okay? So that preposition that you'll be looking for, of course, in this question, for this example, for instance, is the bus stop is located dash the bank and the supermarket, and the preposition that you'll be listening for or that you're looking for is between. All right. So yeah, and then you also want to do this. You want to predict answers before listening. Okay. You want to be able to predict answers before listening. So before you even hit play, you should be predicting the answers. You look at the questions carefully, you identify the key topics, you figure out what kinds of word may be missing, whether it's a number, whether it's a date, whether it's a place. And then, you try to, so that when you try to predict it, so that when you hear the recording, you kind of have an idea beforehand what it is that you're trying to put in there. For example, the museum opens at -am on weekdays. So the prediction is that, of course, the missing word is a number, like, a time, right? A number like a time. So basically, can you use in between? No. In between is used in a different context. Here, what they asked you is one word. Do you understand? They've asked for one word. And so in between is not one word, it's two words, even though it's hyphenated, but it's one word. So you put in that one word, because if you put in between, you may not get that answer right. Okay? Yeah, so that's an example there. Then we have the synonyms and the paraphrases, and you need to learn how to anticipate those as well. Okay, so IELTS typically will use different words to express the same idea. So when you hear a sentence like the library is located near the post office, you might hear the post office is just a short walk from the library. Okay, so here, short walk from means the same as near. Okay, so by practicing these strategies, you'll improve your listening skills. You'll also help to improve your concentration skills and excuse me, and your retention and your ability. So you need to you basically just need to keep at it, okay? And remember that it's about developing strong habits and staying consistent, okay? So let's talk about paraphrasing, okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. Paraphrasing is like you probably be like, oh, well, why does paraphrasing matter? Well, when you're taking IELTS, the listening test specifically, words that you hear in the recording might not always match the words in the question. So understanding how that information is rewarded is it's the key to improving your comprehension. Okay, so let me break it down for you. There's some paraphrasing techniques that exist in IELTS listening. First, synonyms and similar expressions. Synonyms and similar expressions. Yeah. So this is probably the most common type of paraphrasing. Like in the question that, okay, so you might see one word, okay, but when you listen to the audio, it's then replaced with a synonym or a similar expression. For example, you might read the shop closes at 8 p.m., right? But you might hear the shop shuts down by 8 in the evening. Okay? Sorry, the store shuts down by 8 in the evening. At this point, you notice that the word shop has been reworded as store, and closes has been reworded into shuts down. So it's all about recognizing the small changes in the wording that, even though they mean basically the same thing. So next time that you have change things like this, you know exactly what to do. Now we also have changing word forms. Okay. Now sometimes a verb in the question becomes a noun in the recording. Okay. So it's the same idea, but the form of the word changes. For example, the organization will increase salaries next year. You might then hear in the recording, there will be a salary increase next year. Now, the first increase is what? It's a verb. And then increase is a noun. So it's changed from a verb to a noun. Note, increase, increase. Increase is a verb, increase is a noun. Okay? And there's also something called different sentence structure. Now, the speaker might rephrase information by using different sentence structures, okay? Now, this could mean switching from active to passive voice. For example, the university provides free Wi-Fi. And then you might hear free Wi-Fi is available at the university. So you can see that it is moved from a particular voice to another, passive to active, active to passive. So it can be interchangeable like that. In this case, it is moved from active to passive. Okay. Now, another technique, a common technique in paraphrasing is paraphrasing numbers and dates. Okay, so IELTS often uses different ways to express dates or numbers. You might read one version in the question, but hear it rephrased in the recording. For example, the meeting is on March 15th, but you could hear the meeting takes place on the 15th of March. It's the exact same date. It's just that it was said differently. Okay? So you need to make sure that you're familiar with all the question types in IELTS. You must predict your answers before you listen to help focus on the important details. You need to get comfortable with recognizing paraphrasing techniques. Okay, so like the synonyms, the different sentence structures, and the reworded phrases. And then you need to keep practicing to improve both your listening speed and accuracy. So mastering strategies like this will help you level up your IELTS listening skills and help you pick up those key details you need to get a higher band score. Okay? Now, effective listening is a skill that requires active engagement, concentration, and strategy. Whether you're in a classroom or a meeting at work or just chatting with someone, being able to listen actively is super important. Okay? So let's explore some key strategies to get yourself in the right frame of mind. First, there's active listening. This is where you fully engage, okay, with the speaker. You're not just hearing the words, you're processing the information and getting ready to respond. Active listening is actually a powerful skill. It's essential in any kind of communication, okay? So some of the techniques that are required for active listening is one, you maintain eye contact. Okay, this will show the speaker that you're paying attention and helps you to stay engaged. Okay, you know what, please can you give me one. I just need to quickly do something, 1 minute, and I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. Please forgive me. I had to quickly just get something sorted out. So as I was saying, maintaining eye contact will show your speaker that you're paying attention, and it also helps you yourself stay engaged. And eye contact makes a big difference in how you process information. So you need to keep in mind that, of course, that there are cultural differences, and those cultural differences matter because in some cultures, too much eye contact might feel intense or uncomfortable. But basically, generally, eye contact is important. Okay, and then nodding and non-verbal cues. So nodding occasionally is a great way to signal that you're following along. A slight smile or leaning forward can also show that you're engaged in the conversation. But be careful, avoid negative body language, okay? Like crossing your arms or looking away, as this may seem like you're disinterested. So you need to be careful not to exhibit negative body language. Also, you need to ask for clarification. So ask clarifying questions like, if something is unclear, don't just listen unless you're completely uninterested. But if you're interested, then you want to ask follow-up questions. So don't hesitate to do that. So simple questions like, could you explain that in another way? Or can you give me an example? Asking questions like this will help you clear up any confusion and it will help you ensure that you're on the same page. You know, open-ended questions are great because they encourage the speaker to expand and give more details. Okay. And then summarizing and paraphrasing. So after you've listened, try to summarize what you've heard in your own words. So you could say something like, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying that so, and so. So this it will not only help you confirm your understanding, but it also shows the speaker that you're actively participating in that conversation. So yeah, and then you want to reduce internal distractions, okay? So when you're listening, it's easy for your mind to wander. You might start thinking about how to respond while the speaker is still speaking. So to avoid this, you probably want to practice mindfulness, okay? So you focus entirely on the speaker's words and try to reduce distractions. Okay, so this could mean turning off your phone or moving to a quieter place. All right. So active listening is about engaging with the speaker, understanding the message, responding meaningfully, and things like that. And when you practice this, you'll not only improve your listening skills, but you also strengthen your ability to communicate effectively. All right. Okay, so let's talk about common listening challenges and solutions. Now, we all face listening challenges, especially when speakers talk fast or they use unfamiliar vocabulary or when distractions come into play. So the good news is that there are effective strategies that you can use to overcome these hurdles. And the first one is what? Challenge. So sometimes speakers talk so quickly that it feels impossible to catch every word, right? What you want to do is that you want to focus on the keywords, because people also have different dialects and accents, and it can make the comprehension harder. So you want to focus on their words. You don't need to the keywords, rather. You don't need to catch every single word that they're speaking, but the main points. Okay. So yeah, that's important. Then you want to identify the main ideas. So repeated phrases and any key numbers or dates, things like that. So you want to focus on that as well. And then there's something called context clues. Context clues. So you use context clues to fill in the gaps, like basically when you get the general idea and the bigger picture, you're able to then contextualize that. So for example, instead of stressing on every single word, you just listen to phrases like the most important factor is, right? Or another key point is that remember is, all right? So when listening to pre-recorded materials like podcast or the IELTS recording, try to slow down the playback speed, because by doing that, you're able to hear every single word that they're saying. But then you gradually increase the speed as you get more comfortable, and then it's a way to build up your speed over time as it were, right? And then there's something called unfamiliar vocabulary. That's another challenge. Okay, so encountering a word that you don't know is normal, and it's a normal part of a listening exercise. but don't get stop trying to define it right away. It can break your flow, right? Because once you do that, you end up missing other points. So what you want to do again is use context clues, okay, to guess the meaning of an unfamiliar word. I remember that I used to do this quite a lot when I was growing up. I think I can, if I remember very clearly, I started reading proper novels when I was 6 years old. And a lot of the words I didn't understand, but the context of the general, of the book generally would make me guess what that word, meant. And so while growing up, I found out that I didn't even have to look into the dictionary to find out the meaning of a word before I knew what it meant because of the context in which it was used. So it's important to know that this is a good trick to use when you don't understand the word, basically. You also want to listen for explanations or synonyms that the speaker might provide. So yeah, that's also important. And then take note of any unknown words and then look them up later after the conversation, okay? So for instance, you'll hear something like, the company suffered a setback, meaning that they experienced an unexpected problem. Or, yeah, basically things like that. So if you don't understand the word setback, and setback is a pretty easy word, but I'm just giving you an example. It's easy for you to basically contextualize it and then later go back into the dictionary and check for certain that what you guessed is actually correct. So another thing that is important and that makes sense to do is to build your vocabulary list, okay? And you review it regularly. So it's a great way to reinforce new words and to improve your own comprehension over time. And then the next challenge is difficulty concentrating. Difficulty concentrating. Listening to long conversations, lectures, or when there are distractions can lead to something called listening fatigue. Listening fatigue. Staying focused becomes a challenge, but it's definitely manageable with the right approach. Please, can that person mute themselves?
Okay, for a teacher.
Please mute yourself. Thank you. Right. So staying focused becomes a challenge when you have listening fatigue, but it's definitely more manageable with the right approach. Okay, so what you want to do is to mentally engage by jotting down quick notes or predicting what the speaker might say next. And then you also want to use active listening strategies like nodding or summarizing to stay involved. And then practice short, focused listening exercises. Okay, so like do 2 to 5 minutes long to be able to build your endurance. Okay, so yeah, basically if you listen to short news clips, for instance, and then you summarize them in 1 or 2 sentences, this will help you keep focused and sharp. So overcoming listening challenges requires a lot of patience, but you need to just focus on the key ideas. I need to improve your vocabulary through context clues. It's all about staying engaged and practicing regularly. Okay. Then, okay, let's talk about identifying key ideas and supporting details. Now, one of the biggest parts of listening comprehension is being able to recognize the key ideas. That is the main message, and also the supporting details. For example, and those supporting details, of course, the examples, the explanations, the evidence, and an example of how to make it easier is to recognize the repeated ideas. Okay, recognize repeated ideas. Important points are often repeated or rephrased in different ways. So the more you listen, the easier it gets to catch those repeated phrases. Okay. For example, if you hear the biggest challenge in urban planning is traffic congestion. To solve congestion, cities must develop better transportation systems. Okay, now the key idea here is traffic congestion, because that is the biggest challenge, right? And the supporting detail is the solution, which is better transportation systems. Okay, so the next thing is you need to pay attention to tone changes. Pay attention to tone changes. Okay, speakers often change their tone, or there's emphasis to signal important information, for instance. So when they slow down, right, or stress a particular point, it's your cue that something important is coming. For example, you need to listen for phrases like, now, this is really important, or a phrase like, let me emphasize this point again. Okay? Now, these phrases usually point out the key idea or crucial part of the message. All right? And then you need to listen for transitional words. Transitional words. Transitional words will help you follow the flow of ideas and understand how one point connects to the next. So here you have some common transitions that you'll hear. For instance, you have for main points, for instance, you have the most important factor is, right? And then for example, for instance, is such as, for instance, such as, and for example, are words that come under for example. And then for contrasts, you have words like however, in contrast, on the other hand. And then you have for conclusions, in summary, or to conclude, overall. So those are, the transitional words that come under the main points, the for example, the for contrast, and the conclusions. All right. So let me give you an example of a sentence that has, this. Many people believe exercise is important. For instance, a study showed that daily exercise improves mental health. What is the key idea there? Exercise is important. What is the supporting detail? A study found that exercise improves mental health. Now, did you also notice that there was a transitional word? And that transitional word is for instance. Okay? So main ideas are often repeated or emphasized to highlight their importance. Okay? Supporting details are the examples and explanations that help to clarify or back up of the main idea. And the transitional words will help guide you through the flow of ideas, making it easier to follow along. Okay, so being ready to listen is more than just hearing words. It's about preparing mentally, staying engaged, and even using strategies to stay focused. Okay. When you master active listening, recognizing key ideas and tackling challenges, you'll significantly improve your comprehension in academic, in professional, and even your everyday settings. So you need to remember that practice is key. Okay, practice is what it's key. The more you listen, the more confident you'll become. Keep practicing daily. And before you know it, you know, start to understand conversations better. You'll be present. You'll get into the flow when you're in a lecture and you understand. Speeches will feel like second nature to you when you have to give a speech. So yeah, basically. Now I want us to move on to mastering the art of following a conversation. All right, mastering the art of following a conversation. Okay, now following a conversation, not just hearing words, but truly understanding and engaging with them, whether you're in a classroom or business meeting or casual chat with friends. Great conversation skills will help you to connect, to learn, and to express ourselves even, better, express ourselves clearly. Okay. So first, let's talk about context, right? Now, whenever we listen to a conversation, we need to ask ourselves, where is this happening? Who is speaking? Right? What's the topic? For example, imagine a formal business meeting, right? The language will be structured, it will be professional, and it will be to the point. Okay. And then compare that to a conversation amongst friends, right? Now, the tone there will be more relaxed. It will be filled with jokes and personal stories and, things like that, anecdotes, as it were. And then what about if you're in a university lecture, for instance? Now, the language will be more academic, organized, and then often it will be filled with new information to absorb. So understanding the settings will help us adapt. All right. So the way we listen and respond in a classroom should be different from how we do so at a family gathering. All right. And so yeah, that's extremely important. Now, let's talk about the speaker's tone and their emotion. Right. Now think about how much we communicate even without realizing it. All right. A serious tone will signal what importance. The sarcastic tone can indicate that, or hint that there's some level of humor or even sometimes frustration. Okay. And an excited tone will make something sound positive and engaging, right? For example, if someone says, "I can't believe he did that," are they shocked? Are they angry? Are they amused? It really depends on how they say it. Okay, so next time you listen, don't just focus on the words. Pay attention to the tone. It tells you so much more. Okay, then we have nonverbal cues. That's body language and facial expressions. But wait, communication isn't just about words. It's definitely not just about words. It's about so many other things, and amongst those things is body language. So if when someone smiles, it often means what? Agreement or encouragement. A frown could mean confusion or disagreement. And rolling your eyes could mean sarcasm or disbelief, right? Are there any questions here before I continue? I just want to check in the chat room to be ensured. Okay, all right, no questions. Right. Okay, so have you ever heard of someone say, "Oh, that's a great idea," while crossing their arms and looking away? How now? Their words will say one thing, and their body language is saying something else entirely. So, sometimes when, okay, for instance, when someone is saying that's a great idea and they're looking away and their arms are folded, it obviously means that they mean the opposite. Do you understand? So it's important to look beyond, someone's words and consider the full picture. Okay. Okay, so then there's something called transitions and signposts. So we have to listen for transitions and signposts, okay? Now, speakers use certain words to guide us through their ideas. Now, these are called signposts. And an example of a signpost would be to introduce an idea, for instance, you could hear someone say something like, "Oh, firstly, let's talk about." Now, if they want to contrast to that thing, you hear them saying, "However," and then if they want to add information, they can say something like, "in addition." And like we've said before, to give an example, you hear words like "for instance," or to summarize, you hear words like "in conclusion." Now, recognizing these words help us stay engaged, right? They help us stay engaged, and they help us follow the flow of the conversation. For instance, if you hear, firstly, we'll discuss the company's financial performance, then we'll move on to marketing strategies. You immediately know how the discussion is structured, okay? So next we want to talk about responding appropriately in discussions. Now, listening is only half of the conversation. The other half is responding effectively. And so one of the ways that you can do that is to acknowledge a point. So you say things like, "I see what you mean," or "that makes sense." An example of that would be, "I think remote work increases productivity." And a listener might say in response to that, "Oh, that's a good point. Many studies support that view." Okay? Then the next thing is you want to ask for clarification. So you say things like, "Oh, can you clarify that? Can you give me an example?" Okay? And an example of that is if a speaker says, "The new software will engage customer engagement," and the listener would respond with, "Could you clarify how it improves interaction?" Okay? And then you also want to then go ahead and express agreement or disagreement politely. So in agreeing, you could say, "Oh, I completely agree with that." In disagreeing, you could say something like, "I see your point, but I have a slightly different perspective." So an example of that would be, "Oh, traditionally," if a speaker says, "Traditionally, education is better than online learning." Sorry, excuse me. If the speaker says, "Traditional education is better than online learning," a listener could respond with saying, "Oh, I see your point, but online learning offers flexibility that benefits many students." Okay? And then next, you want to go ahead and provide constructive feedback. So I believe this approach works well because, do you understand? Now that's an example of constructive feedback. Or you say something like, "From my experience, I found that dash, 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 dash." So an example of that would be, I believe, collaborative projects enhance creativity because they encourage diverse ideas. All right. So yeah, basically that's it. Now, I've said we should do this role play activity, but yeah, I think we can skip that for now. And basically, I think we're coming to the end of our class today. Basically, I just want us to remember that so some of our key takeaways would be that, okay, we've learned what essential skills for mastering a conversation. So we've talked about effective note taking, which helps with retention, which helps with comprehension or even organization of information. We've talked about the Connell method, the mind mapping, the outlining. We've talked about active note taking, summarizing, question reviewing, and yeah, things like that. We've talked about library research, credible resources, credible sources. Yeah, basically we've covered everything that I meant for us to cover today. Okay, so active listening techniques, yes. Common listening challenges, yes. Recognizing transitions. Yeah, basically, I think we're good to go. So I will share these the slides with the faculty, and they'll get them across to you. So thank you so very much for joining me today. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, imparting the little knowledge that I have in this field, and I hope to see you in our next English language class. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for me before I leave here? If there are no questions, then I will hand over to Mercy and Edith. Are we good? Any questions? Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, lovely. The recording will be on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll be notified when it is available. Please, if one wants to do TOEFL training, how possible? Okay, so if you're on the group, I think I can get that resource across to you. Yeah, I'll get that resource across to you if you want to do TOEFL training, even though I do believe that some of our classes will also cover some of the TOEFL key points. So yeah, you might want to remain here so that when next we do our class, you will get some of the TOEFL insights. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today, and have a lovely rest of the day. God bless you.
Questions?
Over to you, Mercy.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Please, a round of applause to our trainer for today. Please, let's keep our appreciation coming in the chat room. Let's appreciate her. Today's class was really insightful. Yes, thank you, Christian. It was really insightful. And for me, I learned a lot as well. So I I believe every one of us had value for our time today. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. It was a nice time having everyone on the call today. So I'm aware that most of us on this call today are yet to register for this course. Probably you saw the link, one in a particular group or the other, and you decided to join us on the call today. Please do well to register. Please do well to register for this because I'm going to send the registration link right away to the group, to the chat room. A moment, please. All right. Okay, so the link for the registration is already in the chat room. So please do well to register for this course so we can have your database accordingly. Okay. Thank you so much. And then before we call it a wrap, I would like to remind everyone to complete the attendance form if you haven't done that already. Please, if you haven't done that already, please fill it up. Thank you so much. Also ensure that you are connected to our communication channel, which is now Telegram. So we came to an observation that WhatsApp has a limit to accommodate participants, right? So we had to migrate to Telegram. So if you are yet to be on the Telegram group, please do well to migrate to the Telegram group for further updates and future sessions. Mano, please help us share the Telegram link. All right. Thank you so much for that. So thank you everyone for participating in today's class, and I believe you had value for your time. Lastly, if you're on this call, please do well to follow us on all of our social media handles. Emmanuel, please, can we have that? A quick one before we call it a day. Please go ahead and follow us on all of our social media handles on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. We need your comments. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Engage on our post, all right? Thank you so much, everyone. And so this class, our English language and communication class holds every first Friday of the month. Every first Friday of the month. And so the next one is going to be taking place on the first Friday of April, which is on the 4th. That should be 4th April 2025. I believe we all had that. So thank you once again for joining us today. So we look forward to an amazing journey together. See you all in the next class and have a very beautiful weekend. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. We are grateful.
Thank you.